Good morning. That was very good. Y'all awake, nice, hi. I'm the Reverend Jen Raffensperger, and I serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York. Welcome to our Sunday morning service. This one is also live streamed on Zoom, and we have, looks like about 20 folks online as well joining us, so welcome to all. I'm going to be taking care of things here in the sanctuary today, and I'm joined by my colleague, the Reverend Saeed, who will be presenting a sermon which we'll be watching on the television today. So Reverend Sana and myself and our board were on, she led us with another Unitarian Universalist staff member. She led myself and the board in a little bit of a retreat and yesterday online, and she's recorded a sermon to share today that will focus on the shared vision of this congregation, our leadership, and our covenant with one another. Reverend Sana is our congregation's representative to the Central East Regional staff of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And she's outside of Philly, and UUA staff isn't doing stuff in person yet. So we'll have a recorded message from Reverend Sana. Our congregational mission is one of spiritual transformation and work for a more just and equitable world, and education and engagement for people of all ages. We welcome you, whether it's your first time with us or whether you've been with us for weeks or months or years, whether you're in person or online. Hi, Zoomers. That's a thing I guess I say now. Zoomers. If you're new and you'd like to learn more about us at any time, you can send an email to welcome@uucy.org and to start getting connected, or you can talk to somebody from our membership committee after service if you are here in person. Later in our service, we are going to be sharing matters of the heart. Marta Smith has bravely stepped up to be my volunteer to light candles for me, so thank you, Marta. Be warned, if you sit close enough, and we're in this situation where there's only one person, you might get asked to light a candle, I'm just saying. We will be sharing matters of the heart. You can submit them anytime on your device if you have one with you right now, but you can also, if you think of one during the week, you can go to uucy.org/MOTH, moth, for matters of the heart. If you're joining us on Zoom this morning, you can type your matters of the heart in the chat, and we will get to those a little later in our service. So now, I hope you will all settle yourselves, bring yourselves fully present into the room wherever you are. Let yourself hear the sound of the bell as we prepare ourselves for worship this morning. We now light the chalice, the symbol of our living faith. If you're joining us online, you may wish to light a candle or chalice of your own. I invite you to hear today's chalice lighting words by Kia Kiali Bordner. Come, gather to light. Gather light to build. Wow. Come together again. Gather in love. Light the fire of hope. Build. the foundation. Commit together, again, gather in truth, light the fire of freedom, build the entryways. Continue together, again, gather in community, light the fire of the future, build the shelter.
I would like to invite you all to sing the opening, then you're allowed to sing behind your mask. Don't belch. And if you do belch, you're being conscripted for the choir. Ready?
Is it on now? All right, let's try that again. So good, no one on Zoom heard my gaffe. Just you all, the few in here. I am Matthew Shinneman, Director of Lifespan Faith Development here at UUCY. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. Now, live with sound. So I do have the bowl, broken bowl as it is, but it is very important to me. Very important to me. So I was hoping, and I know you all didn't break this bowl, but it is broken. And because you all matter a lot to me, and this bowl matters a lot to me, I was hoping that we could come to some kind of idea together of how we could fix this broken bowl. So does anybody have an idea of how we can fix the broken bowl? I was thinking, you know, I have like the Gorilla Glue, like that might work. What else? Yes?
Duct tape.
Duct tape. Duct tape could work. It absolutely could work. Anybody else have an idea? I was thinking, I have this is a little bit of a strange idea, but go with me, okay? I have some gum outside. I could give every single one of you like a piece of gum, and we could chew it and like put, no, okay. COVID Safety Task Force might have something to say about that one. Oh, you know what? I have a really great idea. Have you all ever heard of Kintsugi? Some people shaking their head, yes, some no. Some are like, no, I have no clue what that is. Okay, Kintsugi. This is a really, really cool ancient Japanese art form. And what they do is they take gold, melted gold, and they put all of these pieces of the bowl back together with the gold. So it ends up looking something like this. I may have not been prepared with my microphone, but I was prepared with imagery. It's beautiful, right? Something that was once broken is made whole again, and beautiful in a new way. And that is the point of Kintsugi, not to know that things weren't broken, but to take something meaningful that was broken and make it whole and beautiful again. And as Unitarian Universalists, that's what we are called to do in our faith with our relationships. We are not a creedal faith where you must stand up and everyone says, I agree that this is the right belief and no one else, nothing else. But we are a covenantal faith. We are a faith that agrees this is how we want to be together. And when that covenant is broken, we don't just say, screw it, see ya, I'm out. We say, this is a meaningful bowl to me. And let us come together and repair those shards with something beautiful and make this whole again in a brand new, beautiful way. We are called to relationship. That is the lesson that I hope you take away from today in my beautiful, broken Kintsugi bowl. Blessed be, amen. We will be sung out by the wonderful voice of Lisa Hallett, accompanied by our wonderful music director, Gretchen Decker. If you are a youth and you'd like to join me across the way, I encourage you to join me now. Thank you.
Today's reading is an essay by Ross Gay from his work, The Book of Delights, and it is titled, "Joy is Such a Human Madness, the Duff Between Us." Or like this, in healthy forests, which we might imagine to exist mostly above ground and be wrong in our imagining, given as the bulk of the tree, the roots, are reaching through the earth below, there exists a constant communication between those roots and mycelium, where often the ill or weak or stressed are supported by the strong and surplused. By which I mean a tree over there needs nitrogen and a nearby tree has extra, so the hyphae, so close to hyphen, the handshake of the punctuation world, the fungal ambulances carry it over constantly, this tree to that, that to this, and that in a tablespoon of rich fungal duff, a delight, the phrase fungal duff, meaning a healthy forest soil, swirling with the living the dead make, are miles and miles of hyphae, handshakes, who get a little sugar for their work. That pronoun who turned the mushrooms into people. Yes, it did. Evolved the people into mushrooms. Because in trying to articulate what perhaps joy is, it has occurred to me that among other things, the trees and the mushrooms have shown me this, joy is the mostly invisible, the underground union between us, you and me, which is, among other things, the great fact of our life and the lives of everyone and thing we love going away. If we sink a spoon into that fact, into the duff between us, we will find it teeming. It will look like all the books ever written. It will look like all the nerves in a body. We might call it sorrow, but we might call it a union, one that once we notice it, once we bring it into the light, might become flower and food, might be joy.
Good morning. My name is Sana Saeed. I'm Congregational Life Staff of the Central East Region and Primary Contemporary Congregation. I'd like to begin by sharing a story by Reverend Rebecca Ann Parker from her lecture, What They Dreamed to Be Ours to Do, Lessons from the History of Covenant. Reverend Parker shares that 8 years ago, quote, I moved to California to become president of Star King School for the Ministry. Truth be told, I was feeling proud of myself, captain of my ship, and master of my soul. I'd valiantly charted my course to become first a cellist, then a minister, and now an educator. When I got to California, I discovered I had a passel of distant cousins I had never met. One of them, my cousin Eldon, was dean of the American Baptist Seminary at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley. He proposed a family reunion, and so we got together. When we arrived in the driveway of Cousin Sally's home, I got the first introduction to my distant cousins by reading the bumper stickers on their cars. One said, if you want peace, work for justice. Another said, teachers do it with class. Another, live music is best. Inside, a Rogello salad, homemade rolls, and tuna casserole, reminiscent of every church potluck I had ever attended, we said hello to one another. Here was Sally, a minister of religious education and graduate of Pacific School for Religion. And then there was Mike, a professional French horn player and high school music teacher, and Eldon, a seminary dean, and David, a United Methodist parish minister. Every single one of my distant cousins was a musician or a minister or a teacher, and several were all three. Not only that, the ministers were all liberal, social activist types with an intellectual bent, and all the musicians were classical. Apparently, I had never made any choices at all. My life was given to me. I did not make myself, and this is how it is. Reverend Parker goes on to reflect, we receive who we are before we choose who we will become. And this is how it is with covenant as well. We are born into a relationship before we shape relationships by our conscious intention. We inherit covenant before we create covenant. She goes on to say that covenantal relationships should begin by asking, what have we been given? What is the covenant we are already in? I find the words of Reverend Parker staying with me these days as a reminder of things we inherit and the legacies we leave behind. Isn't it so when existing in congregations as members, we inherit stories and experiences, and sometimes we leave legacies behind, some that are painful historical legacies and some important joyful milestones. Our covenants in congregations can be reflections of this too. The English etymology or the origin of the word covenant dates back to the 13th century. In Old French, it meant mutual compact to do or not do something, or contract, or agreement, pact, promise. Covenant as a word, though, already existed in Hebrew and in Arabic and older languages like Chinese before English, where the roots of the meaning also touch on it being an agreement, making a treaty or promise to one another. Humans have been entering into covenants for thousands of years. It's what allows us to trust each other and go deeper into our relationships. Conversation around covenant making can be playful, tense, messy, joyful, complicated, and all of those things are normal. But I find people get stuck on making it perfect or creating a covenant where people have to live up to this ideal of perfectionism. And that's not what this is about. It's not about wordsmithing. It's about the deeper promise you're committing to hold yourselves to when things get hard. It's about deepening the relationships here today and committing to stay through the hard times. We're not perfect people. We all have scars we carry. We carry joys too, but at the same time, intersecting with that joy can be sorrow, fear, shame, and brokenness. A covenant needs to hold all of the complexity we bring as humans into these spaces. When I think about the ways we hold ourselves accountable to covenant, the things we inherit, I think about the Japanese practice of Kintsugi. I learned Kenzugi when I lived in Tokyo, Japan for 2 years, and the process often made me think of the ways we deal with our own brokenness in life and the ways we mend the mistakes we make. I recently got to practice Kintsugi with a chalice I ordered online. I added pictures of it to this recording. It had arrived broken in several places. I decided to use Kintsugi as a meditative practice to fix the chalice and reflect on the ways we heal our wounds and renew our promises. Now, Kintsugi is a Japanese practice of repairing broken property and pottery in which cracks are filled with golden paint, highlighting the shapes of the cracks with the valuable material. The flowing shape of the flaws adds to the beauty of the piece. The technique was developed accidentally when 15th century shogun Ashikaga Yoshimasa broke his favorite tea bowl. He sent it to China to be repaired and was disappointed that it came back together stapled. Author Andrea Montanavi tells us, quote, local craftsmen came up with a solution and they filled the cracks with a golden lacquer, making the bowl more unique and valuable. The repair elevated the fallen bowl back to its place as Shogun's favorite and prompted a whole new art form. This method transforms the artifact into something new, making it more rare, beautiful, and storied than the original. Another author, Laura Casely, writes in her article, Broken Plates Get a New Meaning with Kintsugi, quote, behind Kenzugi is a spiritual philosophy called wabi-sabi, or the embracing of imperfection. A much-used, well-worn object, for example, is considered beautiful for its history and how it's been useful. The crack signified an event in the life of this bowl, the way a scar or a laugh line might signify an event in a person's life. The cracks in a dish are considered something to celebrate, not something to hide. It reminds us that the things we think are flaws, like scars, blemishes, wrinkles, or other signs of our own wear and tear, are actually signs of our unique growth and stories. From Kintsugi, I learned we should all enter into co-creating covenants humbly, knowing we will make mistakes and we will break promises. Think of covenants like a broken chalice and think of the work of repairing the covenant as gluing the pieces back together using intentional practice, knowing you have to hold still for some time until the pieces stick together and can hold themselves up without support. That's what it's like entering into covenant after making a mistake and breaking a promise, leading into the difficult conversation, moving past the shame and fear that may be hindering us, and perhaps having someone there, an advocate or a mediator, to help us to enter back into right relationship. In these difficult conversations, we acknowledge the ways we broke a promise and voice our hope to mend the relationship until it is able to hold itself together without support. And then after some time, when the glue dries and we paint the cracks of the once broken chalice in gold, symbolizing the ways we renewed our promise and the deepening of relationship. As a result, our covenant becomes more rare, beautiful, storied than the original. The work of being in covenantal relationship in a congregation during a pandemic is hard. Jalaluddin Rumi, a Muslim philosopher, poet, saint, who I admire, once said, the wood is a place where the light enters you. Our covenants help make us resilient, knowing the change and conflict are part of normal everyday life. The commitment to restorative and accountable relationship helps with the healing and bringing light into the wounds that were created for everyone. If we think of our covenants as being covered in metaphorical gold cracks from the ways we use them to restore relationships and maybe from the historical legacies in our congregations, then that means covenants can be healing for our relationships. Covenant can be healing. May we welcome all our brokenness and our wholeness to the ways we engage each other. May we tenderly hold each other in the complexity, trust each other as we covenant, and allow the covenant that holds us to make us a more resilient community. May it be so. Amen.
At this time in our service each week, we invite you into generosity. This congregation relies on the time, the talent, and the treasure of its members and friends in order to maintain our community, to grow our capacity, and to thrive, both now and in the years to come. We are not currently passing a basket, but there are baskets at the back door, so if you feel called to give, please do so when you exit. It's the practice of this congregation to share each week's offering with an organization serving our community that upholds our values. April's Share the Plate partner is Watershed Alliance of York. The Watershed Alliance of York, otherwise known as WAY, is a group of volunteers and stakeholders working together to reduce the pollutants in our streams, creeks, the Susquehanna River, and beyond. Their mission is to improve York County's water, making it cleaner and healthier for all. They envision that in the 21st century and beyond, generations of York County citizens and stakeholders will enjoy healthy communities, economic sustainability, and environmental quality through locally led watershed conservation, education, and stewardship initiatives restoring, enhancing, sustaining, and protecting the balance between humans, renewable and non-renewable resources, and our environment. WAY's most recent focus is working on the implementation of the York Countywide Clean Water Action Plan, CAP or CAP. The CAP sets forth 4 strategies to improve local water quality, which include 1, programmatic changes needed at the state level to enable the success of county-wide water quality efforts. 2, policy and funding actions for the county and/or municipalities. 3, implementation of urban and agricultural BMPs to reduce pollutants. And 4, water quality actions achievable through the Conservation District's funding programs. The CAP has a hefty goal to reach by 2025, but with our help through generous giving, they can most certainly reach it.
Let's start good habits while they're young. Consider using reusable plastics instead of single-use. Small changes throughout our lifetime can make big differences. For more tips on how you can help improve local water quality, visit watershedallianceofyork.org.
Now, please join us in extinguishing our chalice, and if you have lit a home candle or chalice, now is the time to extinguish them. With these words, join along, it should be on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.